3 disturbing airline stories. Story 1. Row 19. The smell hit me before I even sat down. Sweet, rotten, wrong. My name is Janet Kowalski. I'm 57 years old. I work in medical billing for a hospital group in Cleveland. Not exciting, but it's steady work, good benefits. And after my divorce 4 years ago. Steady is exactly what I needed. I fly maybe 3-4 times a year. Usually to visit my sister in Tampa or my son in Dallas. I'm not afraid of flying, but I'm not comfortable with it either. I do what I need to do. Book the ticket, pack light, get to the airport 2 hours early, and try not to think about it too much. This was a Sunday in September. Southwest flight from Cleveland to Fort Myers. I was going to spend a week with my sister. She'd just had knee surgery and needed help around the house. The flight was packed, every seat full. Families coming back from vacations, retirees heading south before the real snowbirds arrived in October. I had seat 19B, middle seat, the worst. When I got to my row, there was already someone in the window seat, 19A. A man, maybe in his early 60s, heavy build, wearing a Browns jacket even though it was 85 degrees outside. His face was gray, sweaty. He had his eyes closed and he was breathing through his mouth. He looked sick, really sick. I hesitated. The aisle seat, 19C, was taken by a younger guy, maybe 30, earbuds in, already ignoring the world. I squeezed into the middle seat, put my purse under the seat in front of me, buckled in. That's when I smelled it. It wasn't just body odor. It wasn't just bad breath. It was something deeper, biological, like meat left out in the sun. I glanced at the man in 19A. His eyes were still closed, still breathing hard. A thin line of drool was running from the corner of his mouth down to his collar. I thought about saying something, asking if he was okay. But I didn't want to embarrass him. And honestly, I didn't want to get involved. The flight attendant came by doing her count. I caught her eye and tilted my head slightly toward the man. She looked at him, paused, then kept moving. We pushed back from the gate. The man didn't move, didn't open his eyes, just kept breathing. In and out, ragged and wet. The smell got worse. I pulled my scarf up over my nose. Pretended I was cold. The guy in the aisle seat noticed, wrinkled his nose, but didn't say anything. We took off. 20 minutes into the flight, the man's head slumped forward. I thought he'd just fallen asleep. But then his breathing stopped. I'm not a doctor. But I've worked in hospitals long enough to know what someone looks like when they're not getting air. His chest wasn't moving. His mouth hung open. His skin had gone from gray to almost blue. I reached over and touched his shoulder. Sir? Sir, are you okay? Nothing. I shook him a little harder. Sir? His head lolled to the side. The guy in the aisle seat pulled out his earbuds. What's wrong? I think he's not breathing. What? I pressed the call button, held it down. A flight attendant came quickly, different one than before. Younger. She leaned over. What's going on? This man, I don't think he's breathing. She looked at him. Her face changed. She pressed 2 fingers against his neck, checking for a pulse. She didn't find one. Stay here, she said, and rushed toward the front of the plane. The guy in the aisle seat unbuckled and stood up. I'm moving, he said, and went to find an empty seat somewhere else. I sat there, alone, next to a dead man. 2 flight attendants came back. One of them was on the phone with someone, probably the cockpit. The other one started doing chest compressions right there in the seat. People were staring now, craning their necks, whispering. A woman a few rows back started praying out loud. They worked on him for maybe 5 minutes. Then they stopped. One of the flight attendants looked at me. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to move to a different seat." I unbuckled, grabbed my purse. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped it. She guided me to an empty seat near the back, sat me down, brought me a bottle of water. "Are you okay?" I nodded, but I wasn't. They covered the man with a blanket, left him in his seat. We still had an hour and a half until we landed. The captain came on the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've had a medical emergency on board. Paramedics will meet us when we land in Fort Myers. We ask for your patience and cooperation. Thank you." That was it. We flew the rest of the way in near silence. When we landed, they made everyone stay seated. Paramedics boarded. They went straight to row 19. I watched from my new seat. They checked him, confirmed what we already knew. Then they pulled a black bag from their equipment, a body bag. They zipped him up right there, carried him off the plane. It took 20 minutes. When they finally let us off, nobody talked. People just filed out, eyes down, quiet. I called my sister from the rental car, told her what happened. She said I sounded shaky, asked if I wanted her to come get me instead of driving myself. I told her I was fine. But that night, lying in her guest room, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that smell, and the fact that he'd been dead or dying, probably since before we even took off. And nobody noticed. Nobody did anything. We just let him sit there. I looked up the flight number later. Found a news article. Man dies aboard Southwest flight. Cause of death under investigation. They never said his name. Story 2. The Turbulence. The captain said it was just turbulence. But turbulence doesn't leave handprints on the ceiling. My name is Dennis Freely. I'm 61. I taught high school physics for 33 years in Boise before I retired last June. My wife, Carol, and I decided to take a trip we'd been putting off for years. 2 weeks in Hawaii. Maui, specifically. We're not rich. We saved for this. Planned it out. It was supposed to be perfect. The flight out was fine, long, but fine. We stayed in a little condo in Kihei. Spent our days on the beach, ate too much, drank Mai Tais, watched the sunset every night. It was perfect. The problem was the flight home. United, Maui to San Francisco, then San Francisco to Boise. We had a tight connection, only an hour and 10 minutes. But the gate agent assured us we'd make it. We boarded the first leg on time. Boeing 737, maybe 2/3 full. We had seats in the back, 38D and 38E window and middle. Carol took the window. She likes to look out during takeoff. We settled in, the usual routine. Safety demonstration, captain's welcome, pushback, taxi, takeoff, smooth. We climbed to cruising altitude. The seatbelt sign turned off. Flight attendant started the beverage service. Carol ordered a ginger ale. I got coffee. We sat in comfortable silence, her reading a romance novel, me doing a crossword puzzle in the Airline magazine. About 90 minutes into the flight, the turbulence started. Just a bump at first. The plane shook. My coffee sloshed a little. Carol looked at me. That was a big one. "We're fine," I said. Then it hit again, harder. The plane dropped just for a second, but enough that my stomach lurched. The seatbelt sign dinged on. A flight attendant's voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the seatbelt sign. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts. The turbulence got worse. The plane started bucking. Not just shaking, bucking. Like a car hitting potholes at 70 miles an hour. Overhead bins rattled. A couple popped open. A bag fell out and hit a woman in the head. She screamed. Carol grabbed my hand, squeezed hard. The flight attendants scrambled to their jump seats. One of them didn't make it in time. The plane dropped again, and she went airborne. Actually lifted off the floor and slammed into the ceiling. She hit hard. I heard the impact. Heard her cry out. She fell back down, and two other attendants grabbed her, pulled her into a jump seat, strapped her in. Blood was running down her forehead. People were screaming now. The captain came on. His voice was strained. Folks, we're experiencing severe turbulence. Remain seated. Keep your seatbelts fastened. Do not get up for any reason. The plane dropped again. This time it felt like we fell 100 feet. My head hit the ceiling even though I was belted in. Carol screamed, and then it stopped. Complete stillness. The plane leveled out. Smooth air, like nothing had happened. But the cabin looked like a tornado had gone through it. Bags everywhere. Drinks spilled, magazines on the floor, a laptop shattered in the aisle. People were crying, shaking, holding each other. I looked at Carol. Her face was white. Are you okay? She nodded, but she wouldn't let go of my hand. The flight attendant started moving through the cabin, checking on passengers, asking if anyone was injured. The woman who'd hit the ceiling was still bleeding, but she was conscious. They wrapped her head in gauze and had her sit down in a passenger seat. The captain came back on. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for that. We hit an unexpected patch of severe clear air turbulence. We've climbed to a higher altitude and everything should be smooth from here on out. Paramedics will meet us on the ground. Again, I apologize. Everyone was quiet. We landed in San Francisco 40 minutes later. Paramedics boarded, took the injured flight attendant off on a stretcher, checked a few passengers who'd hit their heads. Carol and I were fine, physically. But when we got off the plane, I looked back. And that's when I saw them. Handprints. On the ceiling panels, above the seats. Not from the flight attendant. She'd hit with her back. These were hand-shaped dents, pressed into the thin plastic ceiling, like someone had been slammed upward with enough force to leave an impression. Multiple prints, different sizes. People had hit the ceiling hard enough to leave marks. I pointed them out to Carol. She stared, didn't say anything. We walked off the plane in silence. We missed our connection, had to wait 4 hours for the next flight to Boise. We sat in the terminal, barely speaking. When we finally got home, Carol went straight to bed. Didn't even unpack. I stayed up, looked up the flight online, found articles about it. United Flight encounters severe turbulence. Multiple injuries reported. They didn't mention the handprints, but I saw them. And every time I fly now, I look up at the ceiling, and I think about how thin it really is. Carol hasn't flown since. Story 3. The announcement. The captain made an announcement 30 minutes before we landed. He said we'd already been on the ground for an hour. My name is Carl Demmer. I'm 54. I run a small HVAC company in Omaha. 3 trucks, 6 employees. Been in business for 22 years. I was flying back from a job interview in Phoenix. A big commercial contract. Hotel chain. Would have doubled my revenue. I didn't get it. So I was in a bad mood when I boarded that Friday afternoon flight back to Omaha. American Airlines, direct flight, 3.5 hours. I sat down in 14C aisle seat and tried not to think about the fact that I'd just wasted 2 days and $1,000 on a trip for nothing. The flight was delayed 30 minutes. Mechanical issue. They swapped out a part. We finally took off around 4:15. I slept most of the way. Exhausted. Frustrated. I woke up when I felt the plane descending. I checked my watch. 7:50 p.m. We were supposed to land at 7:40. A little late, but not bad. I looked out the window. It was dark. Couldn't see much. Just lights below. The captain came on the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Raymond Pulsky. I need to inform you that we landed in Omaha approximately 1 hour ago. We are currently parked at the gate. Please gather your belongings and prepare to deplane. Thank you for flying American." I froze. What? People around me started murmuring, confused voices. What did he say? Did he say we already landed? That doesn't make sense. I looked out the window again. We were definitely still in the air. I could feel the descent. See the lights getting closer? A flight attendant walked past. I grabbed her arm. "Excuse me, what did the captain just say?" She looked flustered. I don't know. I'll check." She disappeared toward the cockpit. The plane kept descending. A minute later, the captain came back on. "Ladies and gentlemen, disregard my previous announcement. We are on approach to Omaha and will be landing in approximately 10 minutes. Apologies for any confusion." The cabin went quiet. People exchanged glances, nervous laughs. The guy next to me shook his head. Must have hit the wrong button or something. "Yeah," I said. "Must have." But I didn't believe it. We landed. Normal landing. Taxied to the gate. Everyone got off. I went home. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. The next morning, I called American Airlines customer service. Told them what happened. Asked if there was an explanation. The woman on the phone pulled up the flight record. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Sir, according to our system, Flight 1667 landed at 6:50 p.m. on time." "No," I said. "We landed after 8. Our records show 6:50. Check again." She did. Same answer. I hung up. I talked to 3 other passengers from that flight. Found them on Facebook through a travel group. 2 of them remembered the announcement. Remembered the confusion. The third said the flight landed on time. Said nothing unusual happened. I checked my phone's location history. It showed me arriving in Omaha at 6:50 p.m. But I remember looking at my watch. It was 7:50 when I woke up. I lost an hour somewhere, and I still don't know where it went. End.